Are you a young couple wondering if there are other young married couples you could hear or learn from? Ages 20 through 24 have the highest likelihood for divorce for both men and women, between 35 to 40%. Most of us simply don't have the maturity or experience to really know who we are or what we want in a spouse. We make bad choices, which leads to a higher likelihood of divorce. Most couples below the age of 30 don't make it past 8 years of marriage. And most millennials are pushing off marriage to later years, choosing to focus more on education and career. But for those few who choose to marry, we created this podcast to try and help you keep that marriage successful. So grab your tubes, funnels, and beakers, and let's mix it up and get this experiment started. Welcome to the Marriage Lab Podcast. In this podcast, we talk, give tips and advice on relationships and marriages, and we do some reactions to popular videos. We've been together since 2009 and married since 2014, so we have plenty of good experiences and had time to mature in our relationship, and we're glad to have you listen.
Hi, my name is Devontae.
My name is Desiree.
And today we're talking about ourselves. This is an introduction podcast. We're going to be giving you some insight into who we are as individuals, our relationship, and our marriage, and the story of how we got this far. If you're interested in the story of intense hardship and fighting, going over the mountain into the castle, killing orcs and dragons, you'll be interested in this one.
Yeah, definitely dragons. Mm-hmm.
So we're going to start with who we are. I guess I'm going to start it off because Desiree is a little nervous.
I'm nervous? Okay. Okay, that's cool.
Let's see. So, like I said, my name is Devontae. I was a firefighter paramedic for about 5 years. Have always been interested in IT stuff, and now I'm currently in school for IT. Military for 11 years now. Yeah, 11, almost 12 years. 29.
You're 29, babe.
29? Yeah, I
hope
remember.
so. I hope so.
Something like that.
I don't know. Maybe 32. Who knows?
Anyway, so as Desiree was saying, I'm going to turn this down a little bit. I'm a little loud. As Desiree was saying, we've been together since 2009, married since 2014. And I'm going to let Desiree talk about herself now.
Okay, let's see. I guess I'll start with my age. I am 28. I graduated in 2020 with my bachelor's in sign language interpreting. I've been in the deaf and disability community for over 10 years working and volunteering. As of now, I actually have a business. I am a career and life mentor. I work with the community to help them with their jobs and getting people back in the workplace. Yes, we have been together since 2009. So I guess we can go ahead and start.
We already started. That was our start.
Oh, yeah, that
we
was.
Are.
Oops. Okay.
So I guess we'll go into a little more detail about our relationship and our marriage.
Our love story.
So, been together since 2009, like she said, married since 2014. In 2009, so we met in high school. I was 10th-ish, 11th grade.
It was 10, like 10 and a half.
It was 10 and a half grade because my mom decided we would go to 3 different places, so I had to swap schools like 3 or 4 different times before we finally stayed in one spot. Yeah, we met from there. Well, her story is different from mine. So my first time seeing her or noticing her was in the cafeteria. I was getting breakfast and she turned around and said she needed a fork. She forgot a fork. So I gave her a fork and I was like, man, who was this lady? Well, girl, I guess at the time, since it's high school. But yeah, so I was like, who is this girl? So I got my food. I went out. I saw who she was sitting with. And I noticed she was with a friend of mine who I don't know how long I had been friends with her, but Ebony.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw Ebony later on that day or maybe later on that morning. I don't remember. I asked her about Desiree. She told me, some stuff about her. She was like, yeah, she just broke up with her boyfriend not too long ago. But he was kind of a douche.
Mm.
And
That's
most
another story.
people are really afraid of her brother. And I'm like, oh, her brother. Okay, cool. Who's her brother? And she's like, Hosea. You know Hosea? He's like really big and muscular. And I was like, Hosea Hines, light-skinned guy? She's like, yeah. Like, yeah, I know Hosea. He used to drop nuts in my face all the time in weightlifting class.
For real? I couldn't do nothing. God.
So I was like, no, I'm cool with Hosea. I'm not worried about being afraid. So she was like, okay, well, I'll tell her about you. And the next thing I remember, we end up meeting in the library and started the conversation from there. Mm-hmm. But her story of how we first met is different, so I'll let her tell her side.
Okay, well, my story is a little bit shorter than his. So the first...
Is it though?
Is it? It is, because really, the first time when I saw you, so I would always go to the library in the mornings after I got to school. So I would go in, sit down, get on the old school computers back, like those big box computers, and I would get on PBS. So I was in 10th grade getting on PBS because there's nothing else to do. So my favorite game at the time was Curious George because I was obsessed with monkeys. And all I remember is I was playing Curious George, and then this dude just comes up and sits next to me and is like, you playing Curious George? I was like, yeah.
I remember asking her that, but I didn't look at her at the time if it did happen. So
I didn't realize it. I didn't realize that was you until Ebony introduced me or pointed me out to you.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, I guess I left, went to class or something, and then the next day, my friend Ebony, I was in the library again. And she told me that somebody liked me, and then she pointed somewhere near the computers. And I thought she was pointing to somebody else because I was like, But I was like, oof.
Well, I'm not going to say his name.
Good thing he was pointing to that other dude because he is good looking. So I'm like, whoo, gosh, thank God. And I was like, okay. He looked like a little bad boy a little bit. Little black jacket. He would always wear this black jacket.
Did I look enough like a douchebag?
No, you did not.
This thing will not stay where it's supposed to.
I just thought you looked good. I was like, okay, phew, gosh, thank God. I'm funny. But it's what's inside that counts.
Yeah, well, you didn't know me. So.
I know, exactly.
Anyway, so the story goes from there. My best friend, Chris, he knew Desiree as well because they both played tennis together, along with, at the time, another of my best friends. And they told her that, I don't want to say her name, but I don't know if she would want me to say her name. That's why I was like, I don't know.
Ahead.
Well, Adriana.
Hey, girl.
But yeah, so she... I told them about her and I liked her and they were like, oh yeah, I know her too. So, they ended up all kind of telling her about me. And like I said, we, after all the whole hype and stuff, we met in the library And I don't know why she did. This is the most awkward thing ever.
This is just who I am, though.
Hold
on.
Let me tell it. She came into the library and she just threw her feet up right on the table. And she had on.
Don't even. Okay.
She had on the dirtiest Converses.
That was my style back then, though.
But anyway, she threw her feet up and I kind of looked at her weird and she
Don't be
took them
messing up
down
my
eventually.
Converses.
But anyway, let's see where we go from there. After we met, we had our first date. Shoot, it was a while before we had a first date, actually.
You know that was in 2008, right?
Our first date?
No, just talking.
Oh, talking was
was
2009.
2008.
Well, 2008, yeah.
You sure?
Yes, we met in 2008. We didn't officially start dating until 2009 because she wanted me to wait.
But what's the date, though?
I don't know, January, was it 9th or 6th? 9th.
Congratulations.
I don't remember this. That's a dating thing.
Good job, man. I'm so
I don't
proud
remember
of
that.
you.
Got a hard
I'm
enough
so
time
proud of
remembering our
you.
anniversary. So
I'm so proud of you.
okay, babe. Anyway, so yeah, we started talking in November 2008, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, November 2008. And then I actually asked her if she wanted to be my girlfriend because she told me she wanted to be friends first, and I was like, "Ain't no way I'm getting friend zoned." So I'm trying to catch my spot. So right before Christmas break ended, I asked her, and she said, "Why don't you wait until we get back to school so you can actually ask me in person?" Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, cool. She want to do this for real. So
I do. I was for it, for real.
So
blunt.
I went and I asked her, and I think you told me you had to think about it. I don't think you initially said yes.
That was when we were on the phone.
No, I mean at school. I don't remember you initially saying yes. I think I almost remember you saying you had to think about it. Like you kept me waiting for a bit.
No, the waiting was over the break. I remember.
No, I know that, but I mean when we got back to school after Christmas break, and I asked you, I don't remember you saying yes immediately after I asked you. Do you remember that?
I do remember because you were giving me off signals. And my friends from high school were like, "Are you guys gonna go out or what?" And I'm like, "I have no clue. Like, he's not even walking me into class or nothing, so I have no clue what's going on."
I don't remember this. I don't know what she's talking about.
You don't. Okay.
But anyway, yeah. So January, I asked her, and eventually, I guess, and we started dating. Push it forward. There's a lot of stuff in between that, but had her first date, went bowling. You know, the classic thing. Turns out Desiree didn't get a lot of sugar growing up, so that was a fun experience, giving her a Coke at the bowling alley.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But anyway,
I was all over the place.
Yeah. But going on from there, you know, we got closer and closer and closer, and you know, we were basically inseparable. And then I ended up getting called up for deployment in 2012. Yeah, 2012. I was going to Afghanistan, which, you know, highlight of the freaking decade, right?
Right.
So yeah, I ended up getting called to go to Afghanistan, and before I left to Afghanistan, I planned this whole thing, a little party, and at the party, I planned with everybody that I would propose to Desiree. Not to say we get married immediately, but just propose.
And this was after like what, 6 years? 5 years?
Well, let's see. 2009, we started dating.
Yeah.
But we were still in high school.
Yeah, we were still in high school.
I graduated 2010 and then joined the military in 2011. So however long. Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah, it was like 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I proposed in 2012. Ended up making it back, thankfully.
Thank God.
And then we planned our wedding.
I
Which has
planned the wedding.
I mean, you planned the wedding. Yeah. You planned the wedding, which had a whole bunch of other snafus to go along with it.
Oh gosh. That's gonna be another
Well, I
story.
mean, I guess while we're telling that, we might as well tell all those parts too. But
then we have to tell the whole 5 years and what happened.
yeah, well, yeah,
that's for
yeah.
another
All right. No, that's fine. Let's go back on it a little bit. So, the thing that made the relationship really difficult, and if you're listening, it's the truth. So, I mean, I'm sorry, I guess, but your mom,
Yeah, my mom
made it so difficult. I mean, it was like I had to prove myself 100 times over to get her approval, and really, I think the thing that got her approval was she took me home one day, because I didn't stay that far away from where y'all were, but she drove me home, and we had this conversation in the car. And the conversation was about being responsible, being a man, you know,
of course,
making sure I do what I'm supposed to do, and if I want to be with you, take care of you and stuff like that. And if I remember correctly, I promised that if anything, I was gonna make sure that you would be taken care of. And I think that was I think she started calling me her son shortly after that.
Yeah, because now it's like, my perfect son-in-law. Oh my gosh, I love you. He's so amazing.
Yeah. I'm just fine.
And I was like, but like 6 years ago.
Anyway.
That's
wait.
the past.
What?
That's the past.
What?
What?
What are you talking about?
She like always says that, and then I'll be like, yeah, but 6 years ago, you
Oh,
were
yeah,
like,
yeah.
get out my boat.
Yeah. That, well,
there's a lot of stories in between that.
We'll save that one for another time.
Yeah.
But the trying to get me arrested story.
Oh God.
But anyway, yeah, so there was a lot of difficulties in between. A lot of work. I mean, a lot. Like, I don't think we actually went on our first date for like,
6
God, what
months.
was it? It was a long time.
It was 6 months.
Yeah.
Because like we were just hanging out at school more.
Yeah. So the bowling alley was 6 months.
It was 6 months
After. Yeah. So we had to wait 6 months to actually go out on a date. We could walk around the neighborhood. I could go to her house and watch movies and hang out and have dinner and stuff like that. But there was no going out with her and being alone at all. But I want to make sure I jump in and say this part though. Like, it's hard to get people who are older than you to understand your mental level of maturity. And I say that being naive as well. Like, I'm still young. I knew I was young, but one thing I was for sure, it was at the time I was like, the next girlfriend I have ain't no short term. Like, that's going to be my wife and that's it. Like, I'm not, there ain't no playing around. I want one woman and that's it. So,
and that's something that like we had in common, because I was literally searching for a husband too in high school. And I was like, I don't think any girl in high school was doing that. They was like, oh, I want to date, this and that. But
yeah,
I was like, I want somebody I'm going to be with for a long time.
They weren't after anything serious.
No, like, I was looking for a husband. And I was like, ooh, look at that guy over there.
And then if you think that's young, there's a couple that I know who's been together since either the 6th or 7th grade.
That's amazing.
And they got married last year. So, like, I know people say you're young, you don't know what you're doing, yada, yada, yada. But it's like, if you have people around you that are telling you good things, that are making you want to be a better person, Like, it doesn't matter how young you are. If you have the desire to do something or to be something, don't let somebody older than you tell you you're being naive, you don't know what you're thinking, you don't know what you're doing. I never told anybody. Like, I never told anybody that I didn't want, a girlfriend for a month or two. Nothing like that. Like, the next girlfriend I have, I'm marrying thing, that was completely to myself.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually, at the time, that was a promise, because I was in church real big back then. That was a promise I made to God that I was going to find a woman and that was going to be my wife. There was one in between that, and we ain't going to talk about that one. But
But you got to.
when I saw Desiree, it was like, it's like being, it's funny. It's like being slapped in the soul. That's a funny way to say it. But it's not like you say, oh, it slapped me in the face. No, it was like an internal, like a ding. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like, if I could see myself, there was like a ding and this gold aura started ringing out of me. Like, That's her.
Yeah, like, it was something about you, too. Because I was just like, I was like just feeling you out.
Mm-hmm.
Something about you.
That chicken jacket. That's what it was.
Yeah, the chicken smelling jacket he had on. That was it.
My gosh.
And I knew it.
Oh, my goodness. Anyway, I had this jacket. My uncle liked to cook fried chicken all the time. And my mom did as well. Black families. And this jacket that I would wear, this hoodie, I never realized how much it smelled like chicken until Desiree said it.
And I love the smell, too.
And I was like, I do smell like fried chicken.
Mm-hmm. It smelled good, too.
And I'm pretty sure I got rid of it.
Oh, no, I stole it from you, remember?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah,
like,
you
every
still
jacket,
all my jackets.
Every jacket he had in high school, I still have somewhere.
But, yeah, where was I going with that? Yeah, so we had to go through a lot with her mom in order to prove that I was worth being with her daughter. Because unfortunately, her dad wasn't around too much. I did get to meet him. But yeah, he wasn't around. He lived in another state. So, yeah, but eventually she started accepting the fact that I wasn't going anywhere.
Oh,
and I think when she accepted the fact that I was serious about sticking around is when she really kind of relaxed. She let us do a lot more. She let us go more places. Well, except this one time.
Well, we had to stand up to her.
Yeah.
Respectfully.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we did have a little conversation with her.
Stand up to her.
That's right. We sat down with her and had a conversation about like not being able to go out and stuff like that. And it's like, understandable what a parent's going to think. Like, oh, this guy just wants to go out and have sex with my daughter and he's going to get her pregnant and she going to be somebody's baby mama. He going to be a deadbeat dad. I'm like, man, I ain't trying to have no baby yet. I'm like, I got goals and I wasn't going to break that goal by having no baby. So
I knew you wasn't like that too. I'm like,
yeah, but you tell parents what they want to hear, I guess. But it wasn't like I was saying it because she wanted to hear it. I was saying it because I was serious. Like, I had a goal for myself. I was like, I never had a role model. Sorry, Dad. But like I never had anybody. Yeah, I never had anybody who I looked up to. There was nobody who I saw as a mentor or what do you call it when people, somebody who you want to be like
an idol.
An idol. I never had an idol. I mean, my dad was, pretty good. He was around as much as he could be. I understand he worked a lot. He lived on his own, had to pay his own bills, so I get it. And he was paying child support, so. But, yeah, I never had anybody I looked up to. So what I did as a kid, and it's funny, you tell people this and they don't believe you. As a kid, since I didn't have anybody to look up to, I looked at the bad examples and I was like, okay, don't do this. Okay, don't do that. Don't do this either. Okay, cool. All right. So I got it. So there wasn't people I looked up to, but there was people I looked at as examples of what not to do. Which growing up where I grew up is a pretty hard thing to do, and that's another story. But yeah, so I had goals for myself. I didn't want to have a kid until I was 25, and I had a career job. And after we got married, we lived in the apartment. We worked at Walmart.
Sketchy apartment, but
It was sketchy. Yeah, the dude underneath us sold weed, but he smoked it too. Yeah, but once we made it out of there, I went from what was I? I was at Walmart. Then I went to. Actually, no, that was it. I worked at Walmart until no, that's not the first job. But while we're in an apartment, it was Walmart until I got the job with the fire department. Yeah, so got the job with the fire department. Been with the fire department since. Then we ended up buying a house, and Desiree really wanted to have a kid.
I really wanted to have kids.
Yes, you did. I did. You did. Yes. So much so that when I said no, she would get really upset. And I can remember some of the conversations you were like, "My body's telling me I'm ready. I'm ready."
It was telling me. I was like,
I mean, that's cool.
you were right. And I'm glad you were right about saying that, hey, we should have our house, we should have that set before we have the kid. Yeah, I was just saying how grateful I am that we did it. And that is something that I feel is a good tip. Like after you get married.
We'll talk about it later.
Oh.
Another one. Another video. Another video.
Okay. Never mind.
But what was I gonna say? Yeah, so I told Desiree that I wanted to go ahead and do it, which was a lie. I didn't actually want to do it. I was just telling her so she could stop asking me, which is a terrible idea.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. I'm pretty sure your wife would rather you be real and direct than to just say something because you think she wants you to hear it or she wants to hear it. So don't do that. But eventually I did tell her, I wasn't comfortable with it. I wanted to wait. I was like, I wanted to wait until I was 25. And I was for sure I was going to stay at whatever job I had, which was be turning it into a career. So that in my eyes, that's what I saw as the ideal man. A man who had a job, had a career, could take care of the bills and stuff like that. And then when the time came, you could afford a baby because you had insurance, a car, everything that you would need, plus money to afford extra food and stuff like that for the baby. Thankfully, Luna breastfed, so we didn't have to worry about formula and stuff like that. Oh, this thing's always changing on me. But yeah, thankfully we didn't have to worry about any of that. But yeah, so when I turned 25, actually, wasn't it before? It was before I turned 25. I think it was like a month before my birthday. It was February. It was February, definitely. Pretty sure it was Valentine's Day, the February before I turned 25. And then I think you figured out you were pregnant the next month. Yeah. So, I didn't exactly hit the goal, but I was close enough to it. So
you're almost 25.
I was almost 25.
A month off.
So how old were we? So we got together when you were 15 and I was 16.
No, I was 14.
You were 14. I was 15.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you were 14. I was 15. So anyway, so yes, we've had a kid, and life kind of went on from there. And then I got deployed again, and then that's a topic for another time. But that was a really interesting deployment for the both of us on both ends. And then when I came back, or I should say Desiree wanted to move.
I wanted to move. Yeah, he didn't care. He was like, wherever.
Desiree wanted to move, and I was
cares?
just
Let's
like, just
go.
tell me
I
where
was
you want to
like,
move.
man, come on.
But at the time, I didn't really understand. Like, I probably should have just said what I wanted from the beginning. Because it's like, I mean, I didn't really care to move, but I realized you were asking me for something, and I should have given you a definitive answer, and I didn't, which is one of those things that I had to work through. But
I mean, we've talked about moving, guys. Like, we've talked about moving since
we met.
Since we met. No, like, you're right. Like
was it?
We talked about moving to Charlotte.
I don't think it was that long.
North Carolina. We've been talking about moving for a long time. Like, we were talking about moving. It had to be like 3 years in.
Something. It wasn't long, but yeah, I think we went to Charlotte to see Charlotte, and we liked it. And yeah, we talked about moving there. So we did talk about moving to different places for a while, but
we just didn't.
We didn't do it, and when we finally decided to move, we moved to Texas. So yeah, it's like move to South Carolina or North Carolina. No, we're moving to Texas.
Yeah.
And the crazy part is people didn't believe us when we said we were going to move to Texas.
They thought we was lying.
Yeah, they thought we were lying until we did
you
it.
Ain't
like,
moving.
Oh, you really did it. Like, yeah, we weren't joking.
Like everybody didn't say nothing or thought it was true. They thought it was going to get pushed back because, the virus just started probably, right? It just started when we told people that we were moving.
No, when we told people we wanted to move.
Oh, summertime. It was
it was in the summer. So
yeah.
like COVID was just like reaching its height. But yeah, we were telling people we wanted to move out of Georgia. And Georgia, yeah, that's where we're from. I didn't say that. Well, that's where I'm from. Desiree's
from California.
She's actually from Mississippi.
No, I was born.
She was born in Mississippi.
I stayed there for 3 months when I was a baby, and then moved.
Oh well.
To California.
All right, she's from California.
And then I moved to Georgia, and now we're in Texas.
What a flip, huh?
I've been everywhere.
No, I mean you weren't old enough to understand, but I mean like going from how people in California behave and they act and stuff they believe to Georgia, which is like
two mindsets.
God, what a culture shock.
It really was.
And then we come to Texas, and Texas is like a cool shift in between.
It is.
Like, yeah. But anyway, so now we're in Texas, and for the moment, anyway, this is where we're staying.
For the moment. So where are we going now?
I don't know. Maybe Alaska.
Alaska.
I'm just playing. But I think that's about it. To our story.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some like ups and downs, of course. It's a marriage, but we figured those specific topics we could just strictly go over in their own separate video or podcast, whatever.
Yeah, because there are some juicy stories that we have to tell y'all.
Okay, calm down.
Okay, juicy.
But anyway, yeah, I don't think I have anything else to add. Do you?
Nope.
No.
I'm sipping my tea over here.
Yeah, that's been gone for like an hour. Okay, so I gotta read off some things before we leave. Don't worry, we're not sponsored or anything like that yet, but we'll get there one day. So, if you're listening to this podcast, we also have it in video form. If you would prefer to see our reactions or whatever, our faces, whatever we do, it'll be on the Marriage Lab YouTube channel. That is the Marriage Lab YouTube channel. Unfortunately, we aren't showing up in search. I was trying for a while to actually find us, but I couldn't find us. So we'll just have to put the links and wherever, so people can actually find the channel. But if you'd like to ask us some questions, if you want some advice, or if you just want to have a conversation, you can reach us at the Marriage Lab Podcast. That is the Marriage Lab Podcast at gmail.com. Also, remember to follow or subscribe, whatever platform you're on, and make sure if you're on YouTube, you turn on notifications so you know when we're making our newest videos and we're coming out with new content. And our next topic is going to be about in-laws and not liking you and or parents, and giving you some tips on what you should do, some advice, and maybe we'll find a video where there's somebody talking about their in-laws or their girlfriend or boyfriend's parents not liking them. I mean, never mind. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Wait.
I was gonna say it might be a you problem, but
A me problem.
no, I mean like a you, like, and it's like, well, they the one with the problem. It's like, well, it may be a you problem.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it could be you. Sometimes you got to look within. So thanks everyone for being here for this lab experiment. We appreciate you for watching or listening to our content and hanging out with us in the lab. Make sure to hang up your lab coats on the way out, but never hang up on the relationships without doing a few experiments first.
Preach.
We'll see you next week.